and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And I'm Meg Hofdahl.
And today we're talking about the movie Host. Meg, I was so excited when you texted me and said, watch this, it's legit. Because we were together and when like the hype started, but we hadn't, either of us watched it yet. And then you texted me and I was so excited.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of like hype on Twitter, like you said, people talking about it. And so to be honest, when I started the movie, I was kind of like not even 100% focused on it because I was like, well, I don't know what this is going to be. Like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. And then it was one of those movies that very quickly in the first couple minutes, I'm like, okay, I actually do care. I'm going to pay attention now.
It's such a great premise, and they took advantage of coronavirus quarantine and shot something completely unique and wonderful. Who are the people who made this?
So let's see. It is, I had it up and now it's lost. Okay. So interestingly enough, it's only 57 minutes long, which is an important thing to note. It is a British horror film directed by Rob Savage and based on a script written by himself, Gemma Hurley, and Jed Shepard. The cast are, unknowns. They all, really don't have a lot of credits to their name. And I thought it was really cool that it was a movie that was an hour long.
I thought so too, because, which proves you don't have to extend things just to be cinema worthy, quote unquote, or cinema length. Like, this story was told without an inch of fat and the perfect amount of scare.
Yeah, can you imagine if there had been like 30 more minutes of them chatting beforehand? Like, it's pointless. So I like that it sort of didn't feel like it needed to be in this certain box. For me, I don't know about you, but for me, this is my first like quarantine movie. Like, I don't remember. I don't think I've seen anything that's actually taken place in COVID times yet.
Yeah, definitely my first as well. And except, things that people are just creating, short films on their own in the community. But this is definitely thinking outside of the box and how can we utilize this time and this plot line that everyone is on their own and there's a reason why we would all be on a Zoom call together. Would you ever do a seance? Have you ever?
No, but I would do it. I would definitely do it. And this is brilliant because Zoom is something that pretty much every human being has had to be on something like Zoom over the last 6 months. So, it was just, sometimes there are these movies that come along and they're just at the right time. And obviously this one was sort of manufactured that way, but it's so good and perfect and just feels so right. And what's more scary than like things that you actually have to deal with, like Zoom calls. But yeah, I would do a seance. Would you?
I would. I'm a little bit skeptical and I would also be a little bit scared. So maybe that's the perfect combination.
Yeah. It would be kind of fun. Like I'm up for it. I would, yeah.
Well, I think I know what we're going to do next time it's safe. Or maybe we'll do it for Zoom and see what happens. Now, there are elements that were getting set up, and I wasn't even mad about it. I'm like, oh my God, that's going to come into play, and it's going to be scary later. Like the ironing board falling out of the closet and opening up the door, and the girl saying that her Zoom background is herself going in and out of the room, and other little things. Oh, like the guy kind of being a jerk, the boyfriend, like with the knife chopping a little bit too much behind her. Like all these things just felt like foreshadowing. And we didn't know why yet because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Also, I thought it was interesting when a guy came on because I was like, what is he doing here? And I thought it was just kind of a funny thing that he kind of comes on and then he's not there for most of the action and then we get to see him killed later. So I thought that was some great foreshadowing as far as like they didn't like his girlfriend and all this other business and he ends up leaving because he's a flake and we got to watch him die. So that was really fun. They did such a good job of foreshadowing and also building character really quickly in this limited amount of time. Like I right away felt this kinship with the main girl because I would be the person who's like, don't let the medium, like, don't hurt her feelings,
Absolutely. I was going to say that very quickly. We knew exactly who each person was. Like the girl, and the dad happens to be in the background because it makes sense. Some people would be with their parents or, just by what was in their room or what they were wearing or how they spoke. what their whole vibe was, what they were drinking even, like who's just drinking water and who's doing shots of just beer or wine. Everything was just character driven. And then also the little game that they created about astral projection every time she would say that, or astral plane, whatever it was, astral plane. I thought that was so funny because that's something that people do on Zoom calls, like to trick somebody else and like do things subtly or send messages back and forth. It's so clever.
Yeah, it was so great. It was just a little fun thing. And yeah, again, it just shows to character and you kind of get a vibe right away. And like any good horror movie, you sort of forget that you're watching a horror movie for a few minutes and you're just sort of like in this world, this Zoom call, this thing that we're all used to right now. And they even make some like COVID jokes and things like that. So it felt very real. And again, this is a good situation, a found footage movie. You don't know any of these actors. They seem real. They're not done up. Like, it's just perfect.
I have to mention the main character. I don't remember everyone's names because it's been too long, but she's wearing a Winona State University, and that's in the MINSCU system, which I teach for, Minnesota State College and University System. So, and she had an American accent.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, she is American and she has a Winona State. So I thought that was Minnesota, but I was like sort of second guessing myself. But yeah.
Now, the other red hair, well, that's not a red herring. And the other foreshadowing that happened was the girls using filters like to change her face. And I'm like, oh my God, that's going to come into play. And that's so wrong.
Yeah, that was really clever how they did that. That was funny, but also scary.
The moment that got me, and I literally rewound it. This is what I love about watching stuff at home, because I can't do this in the theater. I rewound it like 3 times, was when, I think of the seance lady, her name is Salin, when like the boy jumped behind her. When it's the first, oh my God, Meg, you need to rewatch it.
I watched it twice.
She talks about, she does the fake story, and then Salin has like a noise in her house, and as she turns, there's a boy jumping behind her, like off of a thing. I'm going to show you.
Okay, I watched it twice, which is very rare for me, and I never saw a boy.
I'm going to show you after this. It's so scary. Okay. Or do you want me to show you right now? I'll show you right now. Okay. We'll just listen to it live. Okay, as I'm getting this set up, let's continue talking a bit. And then that chair moving on its own. Do you remember Haley's? Oh, her name's Haley. Haley's chair.
Yeah, that was like, for me, that was the first moment of like, oh, okay, like shit's gonna go down. And you know, you never know with a random movie like this. Like, you don't know like how much they're gonna show. Like, is it just gonna be more psychological? Which that's what I love about getting into a movie, especially like an independent movie like this, is it hasn't been hyped up and you haven't seen like 18 trailers for it, so you just kind of are going by the seat of your pants. And so I that was the moment I knew like, oh, okay, this is going to get real now.
So, and that's what the boy jumping for me was. So what the other thing, speaking of those moments, also because I knew this was shot in quarantine by people on Zoom or their phones, I was like, there's no way there's going to be any sort of special effects or anything like that, because they can't do that, right? But there were so many.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that. I was thinking the same thing too, because I'm like, well, they have a shoestring budget. They're filming it on Zoom. Like, these are nobodies. It's 57 minutes. Like, how could it possibly have like any money to do anything? And again, yeah, that was that great surprise. It was just full of surprises.
Like bodies fell, and they like things were moving where they shouldn't be moving. And how the heck did you know, achieve that? I mean, I guess we can probably find out, and I know they're showing some behind the scenes stuff on Twitter, but at the same time, I don't want to know yet.
True. Yeah, I don't mind not knowing. I kind of still want to believe in movie magic, but things like start to progress. And I love this idea that this girl made up this ghost, and then that's why everything goes haywire. Because we all know that person. Like, I don't think I'm that person, but we all know that person who would do something like that. And so they, of course, start yelling at her. And I think when I really started to get scared is when they showed the other girl. Oh, when she goes up to the attic and there's like the swinging feet up there, and they like see it on the video. Oh God.
And also, you just don't know. It's it reminded me of the scene which I loved in Invisible Man, because you don't know if somebody's going to appear. And then they sort of do an Invisible Man thing later where she tosses the blanket and there is somebody there, like a figure. That's disgusting.
Yes, it is disgusting. And yeah, you're right. And that's just another good example of them using special effects that I didn't realize they were going to use. Okay, so Kelly is putting on host. We're going to find the part with the little boy that I missed. Why did I miss this?
You know, this also reminded me of that movie Searching and how it was pretty ahead of its time because, you know, they shot it all not for quarantine reasons, of course, but all through technology and in a different way. And this, you know, reminds me of that.
Yeah, and I mean, just like I was saying, like the 57-minute thing and being like, I don't care that this movie is not 2 hours long or an hour and a half long. There are so many ways to skin a cat, so to speak, and like you can create horror in so many different ways. And found footage movies, I've been like going back and watching some of the ones that I like, and I don't know, it's just like such a great way to tell a story. And now that technology is something that's so familiar to us, it's something we're looking at all day, every day. Like what makes more sense than having the horror there?
This reminds me, there's the prompt I think that they're supposed to do is bring an object that has meaning. We knew that frickin' music box was going to come into play because it's creepy. What would you bring an object to a seance, something that had meaning?
That's a good question. The first thing that comes to my mind is I have my grandmother's book from when she was a child, and like it's like a book of like little, you know, nursery rhymes and things like that, and it has her name, like she printed her name in it, and it's just super old, and it's just like one of those things that I love, that I own, and I think it would be cool to bring that. What about you?
I love that. No, I think too, like something from childhood, maybe like I still have, you know, like a stuffed teddy bear from my childhood. I don't know though. What would I be summoning, Meg?
I know, that's the thing. Ew.
So is that like jumping to hang himself, or like entering this astral plane?
Entering this world. Ew. Okay, I just saw it. Ew. Yeah, I didn't. It's funny how that can be happening, and you're just focusing on other pieces. And you know what else I love about the whole Zoom idea is that you can't help anybody.
Yeah. Like,
you're just watching helpless. That was something they used a lot.
Absolutely. And so clever. Like you said, there's so many squares. So to have that option to zoom in on one person and we focus on their face, or to see everybody and multiple things are happening, I bet we could keep rewatching it and finding new things.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. I think I saw the creator on Twitter say, like, what they were going to do, like a watch. Yeah, and they were talking about Easter eggs, because I'm sure there's a ton of things that we've missed, even after I've watched it twice.
I also like how they incorporated selfie sticks, because that's really smart. Like, so you're going to go into the other room or check the attic. How would you film this carrying a computer? Well, you'd switch to your Zoom on your phone, or if you're already using it, and use your selfie stick. Like, that's brilliant.
And it works because they all kind of want to stay together. You know, it's not like, why is she taking out a selfie stick all of a sudden? You feel like they're scared, they're alone, and they want their friends there with them however they can have them. So I thought it was just brilliant. Yeah.
Now, as I told you, I was texting you while I was watching this. I had to keep pausing it because I was like so viscerally affected. I had never had this many goosebumps watching a movie in my life, and like gasps or screams. Like, it was terrifying in the best way. And it took me a while to watch it. So even though it's 57 minutes or 55 minutes, it took me a lot longer to get through it, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. The blanket toss scene, and like that girl, then she fell and was like impaled. Remember that? Like, this stuff I would never have expected in this movie.
I know. And, oh my gosh, there's so many things. Well, the thing that I think really unnerved me was her hitting her head, when you can see her hitting her head against the computer, and she's like, help me. But it's like kind of coming in and out. I was like, oh my God. And that doesn't take like a lot of special effects, but I was really blown away by that. Like that, I knew, oh my God, this is going to get scarier and scarier. And then you texted me when the guy came back and he had his little puppet going across, because you're just like, it was such a sort of non sequitur feeling. You're just like, what is happening? Is a demon controlling this puppet? It was funny because it was very darkly funny, but he sort of comes in amidst the chaos.
I can't believe he died by getting burned to death. And like those special effects, how did the frick did they do this?
I know. I wondered that too. And it's great because she's just like trying to tell him, but she's like, incoherent, and she's trying to tell him like, don't just leave, go, you're going to be hurt. And he's just this guy who's not going to listen. He's just talking away, listening to the sound of his own voice. And I was smiling during that whole sequence because of that fucking black painted ghoul. Oh. Did you see that thing? In the basement or something? No, it's in the scene with him before he's burned up. He goes to this one room and the camera pans down and there's like a thing perched like this. You don't know that? No. Okay, we're going to watch that now too, I guess.
Yeah, we'll find it. I love that. I mean, I shouldn't love when people die, but I love that his girlfriend, who was a jerk, got like thrown in the pool. Like that was impressive. And I also love that filter scene where you see that mask like floating there and then it turns and looks at her.
Yes, that was terrifying. And also, I'm smiling so hard thinking about this guy's death, so it's fine. This is what we love.
This movie, of course, gives me Blair Witch vibes.
Yeah, that's a really good example. Yeah, that thing.
Oh my God. Okay, I do remember.
Okay, yeah.
I have goosebumps again, though, rewatching it. I was like, holy, like, what the F is that? And I did rewind that. But I had forgotten.
Yeah, you blanked it out. Oh, this movie like inspires me as a creative person because I just love how they tell the story in a different way. They took the shit that is 2020 and they made an awesome horror movie out of it.
I know. It gives me hope and that's so weird probably to like the non-horror fan to hear that these people on a Zoom call get murdered. And like, that's the most hopeful thing of 2020 for me.
No, seriously though, because it like inspired these people and they were like, let's do this. And they did it. They pitched this. They made it. They did a great job. Like clearly they didn't have all the money in the world. They didn't have all the connections or anything. I mean, this is obviously, a group of people who don't have, I say obviously just because they're young people and this is like kind of a first effort, but like they did it. And so many things suck right now. And it's just nice to know that like people are doing stuff still.
I know. And every aspect of it was solid. Like normally, I mean, if this movie was shot anytime, anywhere, I wouldn't be questioning the special effects as much as I am now. And maybe I'm overly impressed, but I think they really are impressive. And the acting, every single person was spot on and I believed them. Like I think that's pretty rare too for a project.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, and they're all acting in such a like a way that they normally probably don't act, I'm assuming. And yet they were able to sort of sell it looking right at the camera and doing this whole found footage. And yeah, I believe every one of them is terrified. Like the blonde girl and the girl who gets her head smacked against the thing, like she's like kind of the most scared, from the beginning. And oh my God, it's just so good.
I know, I loved it. Okay, let's rank it on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 you think it's a perfect movie. What's the perfect scale for Host? I mean, should we go with the creepy clown doll or, something that played more of a part?
How about snake tongues? Because she kept having that snake face on her.
Yeah, ew. How many snake tongues do you give Host?
For some reason, like I'm struggling. because I feel like I shouldn't give it a 10, but I'm going to give it a 10 because it scared me and surprised me and made me feel things, and I'm just really psyched about it. So I'm giving it a 10.
No, I'm giving it a 10 too, because as I said, I have never in my life felt that many literal goosebumps during so many parts. And the last thing I can tell you that I can compare it to, that feeling, is when we saw Invisible Man in the theater. But this achieved, most of those feelings in 57 minutes. Like, good.
Yeah, and I hope this inspires a lot of you to make films. And found footage is not going away. Like, people like to sort of make fun of it, and I've sort of read, it's maybe not as like highly considered as some other types of horror, but like, I think it's scary.
I freaking love found footage. Go watch some found footage movies, y'all. Now, I want to also talk about something else new in the world of horror that just came on recently, and that is Lovecraft Country. It just started a couple nights ago when we're recording this. And Meg, this show is right up our alley.
Yes, I've been excited ever since I heard about it. I have not read the book. And to be honest, I'm not a Lovecraft reader. I know a little bit about him. I had to do a little bit of research for him when we were writing Science of Stephen King. But I don't know a lot. And I just bought a book of his work because I'm curious. And I've tried to read him before, and I haven't necessarily got super into him. And I know he's problematic, which we learn about in Lovecraft Country. Of course, there's that great conversation in the beginning talking about things that we love, and should we forget about the problematic things or not? I thought that was a great little speech.
Oh, so many great things. And just when, obviously, I mean, all of this is going to go back to the author of the book. But I just love the time era that it's established and the things that we're exploring, and how you can explore something horrific and sci-fi, yet grounded in the present of that time period and the societal, racial, political issues of the day. Like, that is all horror, and they've weaved it together perfectly.
And I've heard, I haven't seen the movie Green Book, but I've heard it's sort of like whitewashed, and so I think it's really cool. I heard I saw a woman of color on Twitter say like they took Green Book back. Yeah. I love that it's an African American cast. They're not, I mean, there were like barely any white people, and the people that were white were, not good. And so I love that they are taking risks finally. Like, isn't it sad, I have to say, taking a risk to have an all African American cast? But I just love that, that they're exploring this obviously very timely right now aspect of racism, and then showing these actual real monsters. And I mean, the allegory writes itself.
Oh, it's so good. I can't wait to see what happens next. I don't know if you stayed tuned for the coming up on this season clip montage, but it was like injected in my veins.
Oh my gosh. Well, right away, the first couple minutes of the show, like when they had his dream sequence and then he woke up on the bus, and like they made fun of that white people like the song, but they were playing Shaboom. I always love that song because they played it in Clue. And right, like that moment, just the juxtaposition of his dream to now we're in I'm assuming late 40s, early 50s. I was just like, I'm sold. I'm watching every minute of the show.
I know. And they even like the joke about like, we just crossed another bridge named after a racist. And I mean, that's so current. And then, you pan back and you pull away, and they're in the colored only section on the bus. Like, and when the bus breaks down, they don't get a ride with the other people. They have to walk. Like, wow.
Yeah. Brilliant. And then we learn that, we're learning that he loves like pulp fiction. And I was just like squeeing in my heart. I was just so happy.
I know. I love it.
It's so good. I can't wait. I just love having like things like this that, you know, like Host that get me excited and this that get me excited because, you know, like I said before, life sucks in a lot of aspects right now. And just seeing some really awesome art helps me. Maybe not everyone, but it helps me.
No, me too. And I feel like there's been so little to look forward to for so long because, you know, physical and actual things are just getting canceled. So thank God they have made some new content, and there's content that's already made that's now being released. And content will be made again.
Yes, it will. I know right now I'm just like, there's never going to be a TV show ever again. But also books. Mm-hmm. Books exist, and the pandemic doesn't have to happen there. So,
and remember, we have, between the two of us, 2 new books coming out in October, The Science of Stephen King, and tell me the title of your 3rd book again. I always forget.
That's okay. It's called The Darkest Hunger.
Okay, The Darkest Hunger. I like it. It's such a good title. Any hint as to what that refers to? What is the darkest hunger?
Well, it has to do with hungers that are more deep than we realize.
Ooh, you sold me. You sold me. Okay. So pick up some new books, watch some new content, and tell us what you're watching and reading. We are always looking for recommendations. So until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.